Shri Ram, Shri Ram.
Ratnakara, a hunter who killed for a living, met Narada, who taught him dharmic life.
Eventually, Ratnakara became Rishi Valmiki. You all know this story.
The name Valmiki comes from the term Valmika, which means anthill. He meditated until ants built a tall hill around him.
Valmiki composed Ramayana, which is 24,000 shlokas. The poetic beauty and the deeper meaning of Dharma makes it the unparalleled text even today. He is called Adi Kavi, the first poet.
Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram.
Hey, I want to know more about Adi Shankar. Can you help?
Haha, sure. He's a sage. Adi Shankara was an early 8th century philosopher who propagated the Vedanta of Advaita. Shankara was a great sage who was responsible for unifying and establishing the main tenets of Hinduism. He is supposed to have attained monastic order or sannyas by the age of 8.
Wow, at 8, he must be a child prodigy.
Well, yes. By the age of 32, he had traveled all of India, debated with many scholars, wrote commentaries on Bhagavad Gita and 10 Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, and many other slokas, and also established 10 monasteries, of which 4 still remain. He is supposed to have gone to the Himalayas and never came back, and no one knows what happened.
I wonder about the greatness of this young man, giant of spirituality, I must say.
Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram.
Mahabharata was composed by one dude called Vyasa, and I heard that it is the longest poem ever. This dude guy must be a genius. Could you please tell me more about him?
Haha, yes, he's pretty cool. His name is Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Vyasa Maharishi is the son of Rishi Parashara and Satyavati. Also known as Krishna Dvaipayana, he's a legendary sage of India.
He has compiled the vast collection of Vedic mantras into 4 Vedas, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda.
Mahabharata, a collection of 100,000 shlokas with 18 volumes. This is 8 times bigger than Iliad and Odyssey combined. Wow, this is something that the world should know. And also, I heard that the beauty of this poetry is unparalleled in the world.
Not just that, it is unparalleled in terms of the complexity of life situations, dharma and its nuances, and how one swadharma may be so different from another person's swadharma.
Vyasa is also said to have composed the 18 Puranas and the Brahma Sutras, the highest text depicting Advaita philosophy.
Hence, he is called Veda Vyasa. All by this one giant, Ved Vyasa. Hats off to this man.
Buddham Saranam Gacchami.
Siddhartha Gautama left the comfort of his palace, his young wife and child in search for the cause of human suffering.
After years of intense seeking, fasting for days and months, sitting in penance for years, finally in Bodh Gaya under a Bodhi tree, he attained enlightenment or nirvana.
Siddhartha became Buddha, the Enlightened One, also known as Shakyamuni. He explained the root cause of suffering through his 4 noble truths and discussed the path to nirvana
in his Eightfold Path.
To this day and age, over 2,500 years after he lived, Buddha's teachings have inspired and transformed many individuals.
Lord Mahavira was born as Prince Vardhaman, but his sheltered life at the royalty household came to an end at age 30, when he decided to leave it all behind and become a monk. He spent many years following an intensely ascetic lifestyle, meditating in deep silence. He braved many hardships in this journey to conquer his emotions and attachments. These efforts paid off as he reached Kevala or enlightenment, because of which he is titled Mahavira, or the Great Hero.
The rest of life was devoted to teaching people this wisdom and reforming people's lives. He is considered the 24th Tirthankara in the Jain religion and the last one of this age or era. The Nath tradition is a heterodox Siddha tradition containing many subsects. It was founded by Matsyendranath. It is a belief among Nath Sampradaya that Lord Adinath is just another name for Lord Shiva.
Can you tell me about Sikhism?
Sure. Let us start with Guru Nanak, the founder. Guru Nanak was still a young boy, deeply contemplated the meaning of life. He would surprise his elders with a lot of profound questions and understanding of divine subjects. He was well versed in Sanskrit, Hindi, and Persian.
Nanakji was known to question and condemn the ill practices of society then. He preached the concept of one God who resides in all creation. He welcomed everyone with fraternal love.
Based on this, he institutionalized langar, or free communal kitchen, which is a part of Gurudwaras even today. Guru Nanak has had many divine inspirations, and he compiled at least 974 hymns. These are incorporated as part of the Guru Grantha, the holy scripture of the Sikhs.
Wow, that says it all. I love langars in my local Gurdwara. Now tell me a little bit more about the other Sikh leader, Guru Gobind Singh and the Khalsa Panth.
Guru Gobind Singh was the last of the Gurus. He has been a source of inspiration to many Sikhs. He was born in a politically charged climate when the Mughal rule under Aurangzeb was brewing unrest due to its tyranny.
Guru Gobind Singh rallied his followers and infused the code of discipline when creating the Khalsa. The Khalsa played a great role in protecting the followers of faith and weak sections of society long after his death. Women were treated equal to men and were taken into the Khalsa.
Guru Gobind Singh's entire life was devoted to keeping his people safe from the then imperial rule. He believed in stopping tyranny and dying for one's religious freedom and values.
Oh yes, I also heard that. Although he fought many battles, he never imprisoned anyone, nor did he destroy places of worship. Guru Gobind Singh was known for his compassion and warm-heartedness, while also preaching universal love.
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु विष्णुमायति शब्दिता
there have been a number of women sages in Indian stories, both in the Puranas and in recent history. There are many examples of women who have upheld their pious nature in difficult situations. Have you heard of some of them?
Oh, yes, there are so many of them. Let us start with Anasuya. Anasuya is a legendary Puranic woman who outwits the trinity of gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva.
Once they approached her for alms, and when she was ready to offer food, they set a condition that she must feed them naked.
Although in a fix, she did not want the wrath of these powerful deities, yet she did not want to go naked and lose her honor. Very smartly, she uses her spiritual powers to turn the three gods into babies and then feeds them her breast milk.
She is since considered the mother of these gods. Woman can raise herself above even gods. This is the message of this Purana.
What about the custom in Hindu weddings where the bride and the groom are asked to see the star Arundhati? What is that about?
That star is named after Arundhati, who is the personification of several virtues, including devotion and conjugal bliss. In fact, she is the wife of sage Vasishtha. Do you know she is the only one to share a status equal to the 7 rishis? She was also known for her diplomacy and her ability to handle difficult disagreements of her time.
Oh yes, now that explains that particular wedding ritual. What about Savitri? The only thing I know about her is that she somehow outwitted Yama.
Yes, she is the legendary Puranic woman who is supposed to have outwitted Yama, the Lord of Death, and saved her husband who was destined to die. The beauty of the story lies in the heroic act of Savitri, who did not give up or surrender to her destiny. Swami Vivekananda said, "Your destiny is in your hands." This saintly woman, Savitri, demonstrated that with great conviction and forbearance. One can take grave matters in one's hand and win the battle of life.
Wow. So she got her dead husband back from the Lord of Death by challenging him. Simply amazing. But then I also heard that women back then had a lot of hardships in their in-laws' places. How could they have achieved everything with so much torture in life?
Well, it is possible with bhakti. Just like Anusuya and Savitri, who faced their life's predicaments with wit and perseverance, there were other women who met the system of aggression with pure love and devotion. Sant Sakhubai from Maharashtra and Hemareddy Mallamma from Karnataka bore the troubles in their in-laws' homes with complete tolerance, while loving everyone and everything as God's own essence.
Tell me more about women who practiced bhakti.
One of the many who come to my mind is Andal. Andal, or Kodai, is the only female Arvar among the 12 Arvars of the Vaishnavite saints of Tamil Nadu. Together with the contemporary 63 Shaiva Nayanars, they are among the most important saints from Tamil Nadu.
Her famous works include Tirupavai, which even today is recited unfailingly in the month of Margazhi or December in temples. It is said that Tirupavai is the nectar of Vedas and teaches philosophical, moral, and ethical values of love, devotion, and the ultimate goal of life.
Speaking of bhakti, I came across this reference about a famous woman saint called Akka Mahadevi. Have you heard about her?
Akka Mahadevi is a legendary yogini of the 12th century Karnataka during Veerashaiva movement of Basavanna. At the age of 16, she decided to give up the worldly life and took sannyas.
She was forced into marriage by the king of the land, Kaushik, However, when he attempted to disrupt her spiritual practices, she walked out of the palace, discarding everything. This act stunned the entire society as he was the powerful king of the land.
Her lifetime was spent understanding the everlasting love of God. She lived as an ascetic, singing the praises of Lord Shiva.
Her vachanas or poetry are filled with imagery about the divine and her deep love for Lord Chennamallikarjuna, who is her divine husband.
Incredible. I can't even begin to imagine what Akka Mahadevi went through in her life. Would that make her the Mirabai of the North then?
पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो
Mirabai was born in the late 15th century to a royal family. Mirabai was a great Krishna devotee, a Hindu poetess and a saint.
She too, like Akka Mahadevi, challenged the norms of the day to lead a life of her own accord, a life of bhakti. She took Lord Krishna as her husband.
Spending her last days in Vrindavan with unrestrained bhakti, Mirabai sang impassioned songs which have universal appeal and stood the test of time.
Even today, Mirabai and her heartfelt songs are greatly appreciated and revered.
I heard that ancient Indian women have heavily contributed towards the field of academia. Gargi and Maitri are said to be the glowing examples that women are no lesser than men when it comes to intelligence. Can you talk about them?
Gargi was an ancient Indian philosopher who was known for her knowledge of Brahma Vidya. The Yoga Yagnavalkya is a dialogue between her and the sage Yagnavalkya. She was the only woman philosopher in the court of King Janaka to have a scholarly debate with sage Yagnavalkya. Her philosophical views are also mentioned in the Chandogya Upanishad.
Maitreyi, a brilliantly intellectual woman. She was the philosopher who lived during the Vedic ages. There are 10 hymns in the Rig Veda which has a dialogue between her and Yajnavalkya, the famous sage who is also her husband. These hymns discuss the nature of Atman and Brahma as Maitreyi seeks to understand the ultimate reality.
Wow, so nice to hear this. Now coming to Seva. Service to humanity is a core virtue of saints. I heard that women saints have also done exemplary needs in society. Talk about them, please.
Sister Nivedita is a great example. She was an Irish school teacher before she became the disciple of Swami Vivekananda. She dedicated her life to serving the poor and the sick of Bengal. She nursed people during the plague epidemic and helped them during severe famines without any regard to her health.
She played a critical role in educating girls and the emancipation of women, as per her guru's wishes. The words mentioned at her memorial says it all. Here reposes Sister Nivedita, who gave her all to India.
You might have heard of Sri Sharda Devi, also affectionately known as the Holy Mother, who was a spiritual giant in her own right. As the wife of Sri Ramakrishna, she dedicated her life to his goal of spiritual fulfillment and became his first disciple.
Her intense spiritual discipline made her mother to countless souls on the spiritual journey. There were none who were untouched by her selfless love and dedicated service to humanity.
जय
The saints of the Bhakti movement hold a special place in the spiritual history of India. Spanning from the 3rd century to the 18th century, they were instrumental in reforming society by reminding people that the path to God involved compassion to His creation. Over the years, social evils like untouchability and caste system were practiced by the upper caste to dominate society, and the saints responded with bhakti, devotion to the Almighty, and unconditional love for all. Let us describe a few of these saints to give you a flavor of their personalities.
அகர முகர எழுத்தெல்லாம் ஆதி பகவன் முதற்றே உலகு. Sung by Thiruvalluvar. Thiruvalluvar is a celebrated poet, best known for his work, the Tirukural. He is a cultural and moral icon for the people of Tamil Nadu across caste and religion. He is said to have lived around 3rd AD.
No one knows much about his origin or even his religion, but his epic volume talks about various values on dharma.
The Kural contains 1,330 couplets, and they describe the moral and cosmic order, nature and God, politics and economics, and also on worldly pleasure or kama. The Kural has become a quintessential teaching today in schools and colleges for children and young adults on the values of life.
ಕಲ್ಯಾಣವೆಂಬ ಪ್ರಣತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಭಕ್ತಿರಸವೆಂಬ ತೈಲವನೆರೆದು.
ಓಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ಬಸವಲಿಂಗಾಯ ನಮಃ. Basavanna is a bhakti yogi and he is a reformer of the 12th century.
He rose against all the orthodox and rigid practices in the society that existed for thousands of years.
He inspired many great men, women from every corner of India to participate in spiritual discussions.
In his ashram called Anubhav Mantapa, the rich and poor, the king and cobbler, men and women were sitting together, weaving the thought that only the highest thinkers were able to do until then.
Diversity was not just tolerated, but accepted and even encouraged.
The rich literature of 100,000 vachanas were written by Basavanna and other Shusharnas irrespective of their caste, class, and gender.
Sant Jnaneshwar was a 13th century Indian Marathi poet and yogi. He was the first known philosopher to write in the Marathi language. He wrote Jnaneshwari, a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, when he was just 16 years old. This was his attempt to bring the knowledge and essence of the Gita to the lay people of the land, as many couldn't understand the classical Sanskrit literature.
आरती रामदासा
Ramdas, a contemporary of Sant Tukaram, was also celebrated saint of Maharashtra. He was a sincere bhakta and a true Advaitin. He is known to be the guru of Chhatrapati Shivaji, the great king of the Marathas. Ramdas's literary works are still celebrated today and are a testimony of his love for the Hindu religion while showing no hatred to other religions.
हरि हरि बोल बोल हरि बोल
Hare Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a 15th century saint of Bengal, presumed to be a combined avatar of Radha and Krishna. His mode of worshipping Krishna with ecstatic song and dance had a profound effect on Vaishnavism in Bengal. Mahaprabhu founded Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He expounded Bhakti Yoga and popularized the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
ರಾಗಿ ತಂದಿರಾ ಭಿಕ್ಷೆಗೆ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದಿರಾ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದಿರಾ ಭಿಕ್ಷೆಗೆ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದಿರಾ.
Sri Purandaradasa, who was originally named Srinivasa Nayaka, was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, a poet and a musician. He is considered as the father of Carnatic music. Purandaradasa is said to have composed around 475,000 songs in Kannada and Sanskrit, of which only about 1,000 are available now. Purandaradasa's songs express his love for Lord Narayana, especially Sri Krishna.
Kanakadasa lived in the 15th century. He was a great poet and a musician of Karnataka in the tradition of Purandaradasa. He was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. He composed beautiful lyrics in Kannada.
Sant Tukaram was one of the most prominent saints of the Bhakti movement in Maharashtra. Born to an agricultural family, he was a poor man with little education. He lost his family to famine, and many of his books and songs were thrown into the river and were ridiculed by the community leaders, as he was not a scholar, but a simpleton. Realizing the impermanence of human relationships, he immersed himself in a quest for eternal values and was finally granted a vision of the truth.
And that was just a small set of saints, sages, and gurus. I'm sure we've just scratched the surface. Together, let us celebrate the rich spiritual heritage they've gifted to all of us.
Vithala, 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 Vithala. Vithala, 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 Vithala. उत्तिष्ठता जाग्रता प्राप्य वरानि बोधता.
Modern saints, those who brought yoga to the West. There are many gems in every age on this planet. We cannot remember everyone here, but let us bring some to demonstrate. First, we start with Sri Shirdi Sai Baba. He was a renowned Indian spiritual master who lived in the 20th century. He was revered by both Hindu and Muslim devotees of his time.
His teachings concentrate on a moral code of love, forgiveness, helping others, charity, contentment, inner peace, and devotion to God and Guru.
Swami Vivekananda. Narendranath Dutta, famously known as Swami Vivekananda, was a stalwart of the Vedanta who also brought the spiritual knowledge of the East to the West.
He was first known when he addressed varied audiences as part of the Parliament of World Regions in Chicago.
He was also the chief disciple of Guru Ramakrishna, who also initiated the Ramakrishna Muth and Ramakrishna Mission.
He is the architect of Indian freedom struggle who gave the clarion call, Utishtata Jagrata, arise, awake, stop, not till the goal is reached.
The next yogi is Paramahamsa Yogananda. He was another famous Indian monk who introduced yoga to the West in the form of Kriya Yoga. His book, Autobiography of a Yogi, is considered one of the 100 best spiritual books of the 20th century.
Swami Shivananda was a well-known Hindu spiritual teacher and monk whose teachings inspired many of his disciples to set up organizations around the world and spread the pure wisdom of yoga.
He called his yoga the yoga of synthesis, which combined the four main streams of yoga, which are known as bhakti, karma, raja, and jnana. One of the main organizations of his lineage is Shivananda Ashram, which has branches all over the world spreading authentic yoga.
gurus. There are too many to name. This Guru Parampara continues to this date, and the sages of today, with iPad in their hands and laptop on their laps, are striving to lift humanity from misery in the same way Buddha, Shankara, and Jesus did back then.
Now let us watch the glimpse of some of the yogis from the East who brought yoga to the West.